Why doesn't God intervene more? Why doesn't He directly feed the hungry, heal all the sick, and stop all wars? If God really exists, at the list, why doesn't He make Himself more obvious? People who ask such questions often assume that if God ever did spectacularly reveal Himself, all doubts would vanish. People would line up to believe in Him. Relatable? Sounds familiar? What you just heard are verbatim lines taken from the Devotional Study Bible, New International Version, Bible Insight. Very catchy, yep. Hi, Yeshi here, sharing a very good Bible Insight. Are you guys reading the Bible? If yes, let's have a quick quiz. How many plagues did God send to Egypt? Okay. Enumerate. If not,
oh no!
You missed half of your life. Sorry. Are you guys familiar with the 10 plagues? The 10 Commandments? The story of Moses? Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." Exodus tells history of how God delivered the Israelites from Egypt and Pharaoh's inhumane slavery. Well, I hope you'll read Exodus chapters 5 to 20. Let's continue. The Bible Insight is entitled, "When God Was Obvious, Few Atheists, but Many Rebels."
Astonishing reactions. To the Israelites, the glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain.
Exodus tells of the time when God made Himself perfectly obvious. The plagues on Egypt revealed His mighty power. An enormous miracle at the Red Sea provided sensational deliverance. A recurring miracle supplied food for the Israelites every morning. And if questions about God's existence arose, doubters needed only to look to the ever-present glory cloud or pillar of fire. It must have been hard to be an atheist in those days. Yet every instance of God's faithfulness seemed to summon up astonishing human unfaithfulness. The same Israelites who had watched God crush a Pharaoh quake at the first sign of Egyptian chariots. 3 days after a miraculous escape across the Red Sea, they were grumbling to Moses and God about water supplies. A month or so later, when hunger pangs began to gnaw at them, they bitterly complained. "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt, There we sat around pots of meat and ate all of the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. God responded with a provision of manna, which will continue for 40 years, and quail. But the Israelites were soon complaining about the water supplies again.
The Great Rebellion.
Exodus 32 shows the Israelites at their worst. People who had eaten manna for breakfast, who had just solemnly agreed to keep every word of the covenant, who were at that moment standing beside a mountain, storming with the Lord's presence. Those very people proceeded to melt down their gold jewelry and flagrantly flout the first commandment. Stephen, God called the Israelites as he burned in anger against them. Only Moses' eloquent appeal saved their lives. The history of the Israelites should nail a coffin lid on the notion that impressive displays of God's power will guarantee faith. Jesus would later say,
"If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead."
People who had everyday proof of God demonstrated only one thing: the monotonous consistency of human nature. The offenders would pay for their acts by wandering 40 years in a desolate wilderness, while a new, untainted generation grew up to replace them. But the pattern was beginning to emerge. If the Israelites failed God in the shadow of Mount Sinai, how would they possibly withstand the seduction of new cultures in the Promised Land? The next generation too would fail God, as would all their descendants. The Old Covenant, as Paul would so convincingly argue in the book of Galatians, succeeded mainly by proving undeniably the need for a new one.
What counts as a new creation?
Galatians 6:15.
In the end, it says, life questions. Do you ever have doubts about God's existence? What will it take to completely convince you? So class, that's your sign. Please pray. See ya!
God loves you so much. God is always with you. God knows you the most. God believes in you. God will never ever give up on you. The love of God is always by your side. TLG by your side. Watch out for our next videos.
You. Follow me. Yes, you.